Just before we get started, this is an announcement. Our very own Christian is running a 2-day event soon. It's called Nerdfinity, and it's at the larger NerdCon event. The event will run from the 22nd to the 23rd of August at the Hafniahallen in Julius Andersensvej number 6 in Copenhagen. The missions are Evacuation, B-Pong, and Annihilation on day 1, and day 2 is Provisioning and Outbreak. If you'd like to go, the registration deadline is Thursday, the 20th of August. And to do so, you can follow the link in the show notes or contact Christian directly on our Discord. That's the IGL Discord. You can find that also in the show notes. Now, on with the show. Hello and welcome to another super soaraway episode of the Whip 12 podcast. I am your host, Tom, aka Diomedes, and today I am joined by Chris, aka Burlisford. You may have heard of him on Instagram and one of the two other places. How are you doing, Chris?
Really good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Today we have Chris on because, of course, we're still in the depths of the Operation Mazebreaker. And so we thought, after a little bit of time with the profiles and, having maybe played a game or two and built a list or two, and with some things in mind, we would take another look at the factions. And so today we're looking at one of Chris's favorite factions, Corregidor. How are you feeling about Corregidor, Chris, in general?
You know what? I'm gonna come right out of the gate with a hot take. And my hot take is I actually like the Corregidor update more than the OSS update.
All right. Do you know what? I might agree with you. I am an OSS player. I like OSS a lot. I will hopefully get to talk about it more on this very podcast. But I do really like Corregidor. I do really like Corregidor.
The reason actually I'm saying it is because I don't think Corregidor, and I think that's pretty obvious, it did not get stronger than OSS. OSS is kind of cracked now, and Corregidor is still chugging along in the middle of the road kind of way, like they've always been. Like they've been much more in the middle of the road now rather than just down in the ditch somewhere where they kind of were before this update. But I just think, from the perspective of a good update, I actually enjoy Corregidor more because it feels more balanced, healthy. Like OSS just feels like, oh yeah, you get to have everything now, and you can just, you were kind of maligned, and now you will have whatever you want whenever you want it, and then you still have spare change, and So, as an underdog enjoyer, I like that Corregidor still feels underdoggy enough while actually getting some really nice, cool stuff and feeling a lot stronger. And I'm really looking forward to these next months exploring both coins of Corregidor.
Nice. Yeah, I must say. Yeah, I must say I agree. As you know, as I've said many times, I'm an OSS main, and they were always, I felt, very good and strong, but there was, one or two shortcomings, and then they've gotten just absolute unbelievable rain of profiles and options and all that kind of stuff. And Corregidor doesn't get that, but it is, I feel, the more interesting faction, and that was why I wanted to talk to you about it today, myself, as opposed to one of our other wonderful guests, other wonderful hosts, because there's something about it.
Who's a guest and who's a host these days on Whip 12?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we are legion. in the Whip 12 host stable, I guess. Yes. Okay. So let's talk about it then. For Corregidor, for those listening who have been under a rock or are new to the game, Corregidor had some changes, and they have one particular signal change which is unique in the game. And so, just to come back around to that, for those of you who already know, you can skip over this bit. But Corregidor is now into two sub factions, I guess you could say. How would you describe them as sub factions?
Yeah, flavors, but for all
Flavors? Yeah.
intents and purposes, it's like a subsectorial, two subsectorials. Um, it's not like really different sectorials because 80% of the units are the same, but they're different versions,
Yeah. And I suppose
and they
most
are
importantly, you
separate.
can't.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are separate, right? You can't take. There are some units in this faction that you can't take if you build your list in a certain way, right?
Yes. And to
So,
be perfectly honest, in the beginning and for quite a long time, I was really not happy about that. I felt
okay.
like it was unnecessary. I felt like, I had the same arguments you've been hearing. You can read and hear a lot these days, where it's
Mm,
like Corregidor wasn't that big of a sectorial to begin with. It could have definitely just used those 5 more units without being bloated, especially if you look at
yeah.
OSS with
Yeah. Oh,
its,
yeah.
I don't know, 47 units, or I don't know how many they have now.
Something like that. Yeah.
And then especially like Corregidor didn't even increase in size because at the same time as they were getting those 5 new units, they lost 4, or like 3 to 4. Like Deep Space lost 4, and Surface lost
Mm,
3 again. They lost the Cyclone, the Lunacot, which was just deleted from the game entirely, with like a consolation prize Cyclone loadout to make up for it. And the Raven Eye was gone, and Ruby Monday is only playable in Surface. So it was like not only did Deep Space, like the original Corregidor, not actually get anything new, they actually shrunk in size, and it just felt super unfair when you compared it with OSS. And I was like,
mm.
what is this? This is crap, and they're taking your stuff away from us, and then I looked at it. I tried to look at it a bit more objectively and without like the comparison of like, well, if comparison is the death of what did they say? The death of joy, the death of
Yeah. The Thief of Joy.
the
Yeah.
thief of joy, exactly. And so if you
Yeah.
just compare it with OSS, it's like, oh my gosh, OSS got all this new stuff, got like, I don't know how many new profiles, 10,
Yeah.
almost, and Corregidor gets these paltry 5, and then not even for everyone, they just got split up. And you cannot play them together. And you could bring arguments like, if they would have all just been in the same sectorial, it would have given Corregidor a little bit more like fog of war options. If there's a unit missing from the list in the beginning, it would have been, I don't know, is this a Hellcat? Is it a Bearcat? Is it Carlotta? And now, like, if you're playing Surface and you have 14 troops, the opponent's like, well, it's going to be a Bearcat, right? You don't have hidden
Yeah.
deployment. It's the only drop troop, and the reasoning that we got sounded a little bit flimsy as well. The little blurb we got on the blog was like, oh, Corregidor players can just keep enjoying their collection and they're not forced into buying the new things if they don't want to. And it's like, I'm sure they
Yeah.
want to.
Yeah.
I'm
That
sure
rang a
every
little bit
Corregidor,
hollow.
yeah, every Corregidor player was
Yeah.
really excited to buy new stuff and not being forced to play it in just one flavor of their sectorial. But if
Yeah.
you, yeah,
Oh, go on. Yeah. Go on. Go on. Carry on.
no, I'm like, if you just look at the things they have now, um, it's still a really good update. And if you could, I think you could even make the point, and a lot of people are going to disagree with me on that, but you could make the point that even if Deep Space had just stayed like it is, no new units or anything, and they just got those fire team changes and those few profile loadout changes they got, it would have still been a massive boost to them. Like even just the fire team changes completely redesigned Corregidor, like even just the old Deep Space version.
Yeah.
And then now you get this interesting flavor of like, okay, now I can play a different kind of Corregidor, and I have to make different interesting link team choices and unit selection choices. And if you watch it purely from that perspective, if you like stay in your little Corregidor bubble, it's actually a really interesting sectorial now, I feel like. And yes, there are
Sure.
some drawbacks, and you still have lots of limitations, and of course, a lot of units did not get the love that we would have loved to see. There are definitely winners
Yeah.
and losers here, but I'm really happy with it, honestly.
That's really good to hear. Yeah, I mean, you obviously summarized it really nicely in the sense of the generalized critique that was sort of coming out from sort of us creators, right? We for the listeners at home, we got to see the profiles even before everyone else did, or the new ones anyway, and we were getting this sense of like, which was then translated into the general like population of players, which was like, wow, OSS is like spilling over with new stuff and updated profiles. And whoa, okay, CJC is like, it's cool. There's some cool stuff, but yeah, as you said,
It's
comparison
like
is
we
the
get
thief of
5 new
joy.
units and they're all already here. They're
Yeah,
all in
yeah,
Mazebreaker.
yeah, and
Yeah.
comparison is the thief of joy, but it's very difficult not to compare when they're literally releasing two factions next to each other in a box, and you're
Sure.
like, well, I can't really look at these ones without also looking at these other ones. I'm not living my life in a vacuum. These two things have arrived at the same time, and they're
Yes.
not comparable in terms of the sort of volume of new things coming out.
Yeah.
So that was difficult. Obviously it was difficult for you, but it's difficult, I think, for a lot of people to take. I'm always tried to be positive about these things, but I definitely,
Yeah, you were.
but I really,
I was like, shut up. Shut up. I'm
yeah,
mad right
sorry.
now.
Yeah, no,
Let
I
me
should
be
have,
mad.
I should have just let you be mad. You're right.
Yeah.
I will do that in future. What really excites me is the split,
Yeah.
which I'm sure we'll get into in more detail. And that notion, and I think like you mentioned earlier on, you're an underdog fan of underdog factions, and as am I. I think almost to a fault for myself. And
Well,
so
you're
I
playing
think I
OSS,
find
so that's a lie now.
well exactly. But now
You've been made a liar by CB.
yeah, yeah, and I was really excited to be like, oh, my pet faction is now going to be really powerful, and it is. But I find myself drawn towards Corregidor in this instance precisely because it doesn't have that overflow of just incredible new things, and it has some interesting ideas and some interesting rules,
Yeah.
and a different kind of way to play, which perhaps is going to rely a little bit more on player skill, and a little bit more on the kind of meta game of list building and mission building, and working a little bit more around the precisely tactical elements of the game itself. You've got to think a little bit more widely, which is something that I always really like about the game. We all spend more time doing things like list building than we will ever do playing games. So, making that element of the process more interesting is really appealing.
Yes.
But yeah, I do appreciate the level of upset at the time when the profiles were dropped, because it was like this is hard to take in the face of all that OSS stuff. But
Especially, and I guess that was the other point. At that point, we didn't know what else would change for Corregidor. So all we had
yeah,
was the new profiles, and was like, if this is all we get, it's gonna be just too little
yeah,
and too disappointing. But to CB's credit, some did get some more stuff. Not as much
yeah,
as most of us would have hoped, and some very surprising things that we did not expect. But Corregidor is definitely a lot of like, it was already fun to play with before, but it's more fun to play with now. And you're not gonna it's not gonna feature on any S tier, on any tier list. but it's definitely better, and it's definitely like in a place where it's just fun to experiment with it right now.
Sure. Yeah, and I think you pointed out earlier on at the new fire team setup, which is also I think really exciting. I'd occasionally back in early N5 and even in N4, I'd looked at Corregidor and thought, yeah, that's cool. The concept is cool. There's some really cool units, but the fire teams never quite worked for me.
Oh, they were so janky. Oh my gosh, it was
And
an exercise in frustration.
yeah, and all of that has gone away. Like all of that trouble, that challenge is gone. So maybe we can start there with the fire teams, and we can we'll focus on either deep space or surface, or we can flip back and forth. I don't know whether that makes more or less sense to you, but
we can definitely just make a general statement about it, about both of them, which is
sure.
Corregidor at some point in N4 had this it had this renaissance with Operation Crimson Stone and the N4 rework where it just had all the fire team flexibility, right? And Corregidor was like this, yeah, the individual units, like you most of the time with Nomads, the individual units are not the best, but you have so much fire team flexibility, and that kind of makes up for it. And then the fire team rework came with N4, and just gradually, it felt like one nerf after the other. Fire teams got worse and worse and worse for Corregidor, and then with N5, it was like, well, you get like 2 keywords and 1 Horus, and your main fire team cannot duo, and so have fun trying to build any list that has like a duo bonus. And it was always super awkward and janky.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you like Mobile Brigada duos? Because that's what you're getting, pretty much.
No, not even, because you could not duo them.
Oh God, yeah.
That's the thing. The Corregidor
Yeah, even
fire
worse than
team
that.
was Horus Core before the update. And so you
Oh,
couldn't
yeah,
even
okay.
just duo them. You had to then slap something else onto them.
Yeah.
Or you had to do stuff like take 2 Wildcats. It was like, I don't want to do that. And I guess maybe also on a general note to begin with, the other really awkward thing with Corregidor was always that it was kind of meant to be played as this hacking setup, guided setup faction, because you just said like the Morans kind of shoehorned you into this thing. You have Morans in the midfield, you have Jazz as a good hacker, but the problem they always had was they paid out of their nose in SWC for that setup. So those 2 Morans, that's 1 SWC. That Vertigo, 1.5. Then you have a hacker, and that's 3 SWC out of your 6, and you have not paid for a single gun. And almost none of the guns had any SWC discounts. And so all of a sudden you were like, well, I can do that, but then I can only bring 1 gun. And that kind of that's not good enough for Corregidor, which doesn't even have great guns.
And you would also spend SWC on your lieutenant as well if you were taking.
And that's the thing. And then you had the 0.5 Alguacil lieutenant, or you had your 33 points Mobile Brigada lieutenant with Tinbot, which then every Corregidor player kind of defaulted to, because at least it had utility in giving a Tinbot to Jazz. But yes, and that's something that has been alleviated to a pretty big degree as well with this update. Not just by the fact that Alguacil was let's spoiler this, Alguacil lieutenant actually finally, after I guess all of the game, all of the history of Infinity, finally,
at least the preceding 3 editions,
yeah. I'm not sure about N2 and N1, but they went from 1. Do you remember they were 1 at some point?
I think they were 1 in the N4, early N4.
Exactly.
Maybe.
And they dropped to 0.5 with N5, and now they finally joined the rest of the lieutenants. Actually, that's not true. I just recently found out that the Kaisotsu 9-point lieutenant also pays 1.5 SWC these
Wow.
days.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
yeah, and that already
Well,
helps a
it
lot.
shouldn't. Nobody should be paying. I don't think there's any like absolute things that I would say about Infinity and how it should or shouldn't be built. But like, no one should be paying SWC for a basic lieutenant. It's just bonkers to me.
I guess the thought behind it is like this unit is so ill-equipped to actually be a lieutenant that you know like making them lead your
Yeah.
team is actually imposing some kind of tax on the rest of the
Yeah.
team, which I get with
Yeah.
Kaisotsu because like
Yeah. I get it, and I know there's obviously like fluff reasons for it as well, like the sort of going along with the law thing. And I have a lot of time for law like aligned rules for the game. I
yeah,
love all that kind of stuff, but that always felt just punishing. It's just punishing to do.
yes,
But
and
anyway, we
especially
don't
for
have to deal with that.
Corregidor that needs
Yeah.
to spend all of those SWC. So we did get
Yeah.
some of that stuff. We got some discounts, and I think it's actually much easier to build a well-rounded Corregidor list now. And so that's one of the overarching things that I really enjoyed about this update. But
Cool.
yeah, we wanted to talk about the fire teams.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, we've kind of gone over the general sense, but I think the Corregidor fire team seems like the heart of the faction, and both versions of it, both deep space and surface, have a kind of real fire team. You know, like a serious N5 fire team. You get Harris Core and Duo, and everything in that fire team, and there are many things,
Yeah.
gets the Corregidor tag.
Yes.
Apart from in Deep Space, the tag Triber doesn't get the Corregidor tag, but everything else does, and
And a
that's
bunch
just
of
fantastic.
wild cards.
Yeah, of course.
Like
Yeah,
there's
like
actually just one wild card with the Corregidor tag, which is Lupa, but
yeah,
yes. But otherwise everything gets the keyword.
yeah, and so you're able to build all kinds of, potentially weird and wonderful kind of fire teams. And also the great thing is not only the tag, but especially when you're looking at surface, like every single one of those units can be the base of the fire team as well. So you're
Yes.
not looking at like, okay, everyone has a tag, but you have to take an Alguacil or you have to
Yes.
take a Mobile Brigada. It's like, no,
Yes.
you take whatever you want and it does it. You build it however
Yes.
you like.
And
That
I
feels
guess
very free.
and I guess that's one of the things where we really will have to wait for the community to explore this whole space of what you can do with all of those duos, because that's the other thing that we already mentioned. They picked up the duo option, and so you can just slap two of all of these together and see what you can get. um, so I'm not actually. So I haven't made too wild, like my experience with them haven't been too wild yet, because interestingly for me at least, it did still come down to the same kind of combinations that just have always made sense, like combining the Mobile Brigada with Tinbot with a hacker of your choice. But for example, it did, like, even just one simple thing that always annoyed me when I tried to build a list was like, all right, the Wildcat hacker is good, and it just got a lot better. We can talk about Wildcats in a bit. And of course, I would love to put it together with a Mobile Brigada and maybe Jazz. So I have two hackers and I have a good hacker. But before the update, that was always like, yeah, but this doesn't even, no one gets special die from that. And now at least it's like, sure, Wildcat, Mobile Brigada, Tinbot, that's a pure duo. Add Jazz, she gets a special die on her BS11 pitcher. That's better than nothing. The Mobile Brigada can actually do something turn 3 if you wanted to, or even turn 2.
Yeah.
It's just a nice little team that has the kind of synergy that you always wanted for it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of those fire teams you find yourself looking at it going like, oh, if I do this, I could take that, and then I can combine these things together. And yeah, I mean that obviously
Definitely.
that one example, which as you say is a pretty old fashioned, might you say, fire team for Corregidor. Having Jazz with a Timbot Brigada is like, yeah, that's classic strengths of Corregidor. But yeah, you can obviously push the boat out in all kinds of different directions now.
Yeah. Or
Speaking
like
of,
the
oh, go on.
sorry, yeah, or like the new Coyote Killer Hacker also massively benefits from the Mobile Brigada. That's a cool duo as well. Mobile Brigada, Tinbot, Coyote Killer Hacker. People have already appraised the Coyote Killer Hacker for its AROing potential, which is really nice. And then you can even give it a lot of hacking protection that kind of mitigates the fact that it's a killer hacker.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we were talking obviously about OSS, and it's hard not to make comparisons, but OSS is in the hacking game and has a very strong hacker, but
Yes.
it's
You
quite
mean the
difficult.
strongest hacker in the game?
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. The Asura is pretty phenomenal. However, um, even she is going to have a challenge to break through BTS 6, Timbot -6. Like,
Yes.
even if she gets up into your zone of control, not including going through repeaters, or through your repeaters, which that's kind of how I always like to use the Asura in the past was, it had that strength to in active to brute force through someone's repeater. You really can't do that to the hackers in
Especially since
Corregidor.
she lost the damage bonus, right? Like she traded it for
Yeah,
the special die, which makes her really
yeah,
strong. But it's now
yeah,
back to PS6, where it was a
yeah. So the
PS4
special die,
before.
yeah, the special die really helps for her staying alive and obviously winning the face to face. But you could still, even with 4 dice, you could easily just throw in order after order into trying to take on someone like Jazz or a Coyote, or even where she's two whip higher than the most of them, but it's still just a huge battle to get through a -12. It's
Yep.
just to put the wounds through, obviously you're at -6
Yeah.
even to hit.
Which, I would be really sad about for you if OSS at the same time didn't also get the chance to slap a Tinbot onto the Asura.
Yeah,
So
yeah, but there's a real cost to that. Like, I think not to
there's a real
more.
cost to a 33-point Mobile Brigada that really does not do a lot else as well.
True. That's true, but I don't know. I'm try I try to be positive. I like the Brigada Lieutenant. I think there's a lot of value in a 2 wound, very self-sufficient lieutenant. Like, that's a very thing that also is then backing up because I mean the faction is not the toughest. There's a lot of 1 wound stuff. There's
It is the medium
you
infantry faction more than
yeah,
ever. Yes.
you can well imagine situations where your flank gets rolled up and your Jaguars all get killed. And like, yeah, okay, so your lieutenant is left by himself, but your lieutenant still has 2 wounds and arm 5, BTS
Yes.
3 and firewall, and a template and a multi-rifle. Like, yeah, come at me, bro. Well, you can try, but by the time you get to me, you're gonna be down to 2 or 3 orders, maybe if you're lucky. And yeah, the Brigada can fight back. So I feel like that's a good investment from from a faction perspective. In that, yeah, okay,
Especially since your other lieutenant choices are still terrible.
exactly. I
Um,
mean, if you did that and you go, okay, well, I've got an Alguacil, it's like, okay, my flank maybe still gets rolled up, and then I've got an Alguacil or 2 that you can then do a 50-50 and decide which one is the right one to kill.
yes.
I'd much
Who do even less than the Brigada.
Exactly. I mean, the
Yeah.
Brigada, it's expensive, but it is still supporting your kind of core faction identity and kind of gameplay loop as well, which is like, I have these great hackers, and now they're even better with this tough lieutenant who's going to stand here and do nothing most of the game, but maybe later on he'll go and kill a thing or go and complete a classified, or just go on suppressive fire in the middle of
Exactly.
the board with his 360 visor. So I don't know. It's
Yes.
it's pretty
May
cool.
make the 360 visor sound like something great.
I've always been a 360 visor fan, but then I spent a lot of time playing Capitalki, where
It does
you
come
have
in
to
handy
have.
like every 10th game, and then you're like, haha, you cannot shoot me in the back. And the
Yeah,
rest are, and the other nine games, you're like, I wish they had given Mobile Brigada something.
yeah, yeah. I feel
Although
that.
I have to say, I'm not as salty about the Mobile Brigada as I've seen other people be who really wanted more for them, and really, I've always felt like they're fine. It's an armor 5 S2 as a heavy infantry. Like that's
Yeah.
special enough for me. Um, and I'm also, that's a very personal opinion. I do think that not every unit needs to get buffed to like into all eternity. Like
No.
um
No.
there have to be, like, there are already so many units. It's like, oh my gosh, and it does this and it does that and it has this, and it has like this wall of text of special rules, and I'm like, there need to be
Yeah.
some units that are just like, no, it's fine, it's just a heavy infantry. It pays decent points for it. It does not have any mods, but it's okay. And
Yeah.
then sometimes third turn BS13 is all you need.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, with Arm 5, you can really stand there just, blazing away with your whatever gun you've got. Yeah, it's not going to be hitting every single shot, but if it fails the face to face, there's a good chance you'll live. A good chance you might not even take a single wound, so you can afford to keep plugging away if you really need to.
Yeah.
Which is a nice kind of different feel to what a lot of the rest of the faction is sort of doing
Yes.
with it
And I
with the way
mean,
it
it
plays.
did get buffed, right? Like the fire team changes are a buff pretty directly
Yeah,
to the mobile brigada.
absolutely.
You can run them as duos now if you want to, and you can run them as in a duo with pretty much everything else. And they even got a direct change. I'm not sure I would call it a buff, but they got a direct change, which mean in the form of the Mobile Brigada HMG Lieutenant being added to their selections in Nomads, not in Starco or any of the other.
Hmm.
Um, I don't think Kapukalki gets the. I'm not sure if Tunguska
No.
and Bakunin gets the Lieutenant HMG, but and it's another one of those, like, it's nice, I guess.
Yeah, and it's
Not
it's
sure
only
they're
one
gonna
S.
run it.
It's only one S.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've also heard the takes of like, no, this is completely useless. No one's ever going to play that, and I'm like, you know what? One thing that Corregidor has been lacking is the chance to play an active lieutenant. You always either had those alguaciles. You would never play the Wildcat as a lieutenant, or even if you did, never as an active one. You kind of always kept the Mobile Brigada lieutenant as something for the last turn. And now you actually have something that, again, like you said, it's not going to win every face-to-face roll, but it's not like Corregidor is not the first faction that just throws a BS13 HMG at someone. JSA and the Daiokai say hello, or Toha,
Yeah.
or a lot of other factions.
Yeah.
Um,
Absolutely.
and you even get chain of command. Is it the best chain of command in the game? No, but both surface and deep space get a chain of command option now. And if you want to, will you win a satellite with that list? Maybe, maybe not, probably not. But you can run an active lieutenant in Corregidor now and have fun with it.
Yeah.
So I
And I
don't.
think for me,
Yeah.
there's as a fool who plays occasionally US Ariana. Uh, I think there is value in like sort of having an HMG lieutenant in your back pocket of like you have your things that you want to do stuff with, but it's cool. It's expensive, obviously, but you have this piece which when pressed, you can go, okay, well, I still have this HMG. It's not the best weapon in my arsenal, but it's a gun that will hurt a lot of things. And I have a lieutenant order, so I can start running with it and doing stuff. And yeah, just roll with that and use that. Well, this is again coming from a US Ariadne perspective, but use an HMG toting lieutenant as a kind of like link base, like the foundation of your core fire team, which he'll sit there and do stuff. He'll holding things together, and later on you can send him out to do stuff. Or if pressed, you can obviously just start with that because it's an HMG and it will still do some work for you. And you, as you pointed out, you have these chain of command, which for me, I really think that shifter chain of command, you want to take it anyway, like even if it wasn't chain of command.
I have thoughts on that.
Okay.
But I'm not sure if we maybe should take some more structured approach
Yes,
instead
of
of
course,
just
of course.
jumping
Jumping around.
from
You're right.
random profile to random profile.
Yeah, you're right. Okay. Well, let's
So,
stick with the Corregidor fire team for a bit longer then, and see what other things we've got in there that you like the look of.
well, obviously the surface fire teams are a bit more, well, they're more new, and so have some more interesting stuff in there. I do think so. Maybe also as a general notion, I know there are very competitive takes. There are like, this is not good. You're never going to do this, and then you dismiss like 75% of those options, which you can
Yeah.
do. And if all you think about is winning a tournament, then yes. But from this perspective of casual, a bit more casual Infinity, and most of the games that most of the people with most of the average skill level that we all have are actually playing, I do think there is actually a lot of interesting stuff in there.
Mm.
For me, for example, the Mamba Droid is an interesting option just because it also has the keyword, and you can actually slap it together with the Coyote or anything else, and you get a pretty cheap 13-point AP Mind Dispenser that gets a special die, which I do think actually makes the Bamba Droid Mind Dispenser better than the Bamba Bot Mind Dispenser, which is like, it's nice that it's on this cheap of a unit, but you also always are just throwing like one die on a, what is it, a 10, an
10.
11?
Yeah.
Um,
10. Yeah.
yeah, like that's not gonna land particularly often. And having the chance to have this Bamba Droid version and having him linked with something else and having this cheap duo special die mind dispenser, I think that's pretty cool.
Mm.
Territorials, of course, are cool in themselves. I do actually think you can perfectly run territorials even unlinked, territorial lieutenants, for example.
Yeah.
Speaking of lieutenants again, at least for the surface team, the territorial lieutenant is definitely it's a new lieutenant option, which Corregidor is
Mm.
always happy. It's like grasping for every new lieutenant option that they get, even if it's not the best. But it's a lieutenant with a tactical awareness order, with 3 orders just to himself, and marksmanship, good visual mods, a decent gun. You can do something with
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, I mean, having just talked about the Mobile Brigada for 33 points,
Yeah.
you could get the 32-point Territorial Lieutenant,
Yes.
which is not hackable, so it doesn't need the tin bot, and has an AP Red Fury. So you just run it by itself or with a Dactari and off you go.
Yes. And you will have
Like
to
that's,
find the points at the SWC for that, sure.
yeah.
And as we said, Corregidor, still, it's not the easiest to find those SWC, but you also don't have to run the Vertigo Sound, the missile bot, all the time. Like, some people are
Hmm.
convinced that you do. I don't think you do. And you can find those SWC if you want to and get that
Yeah.
interesting.
And I mean,
I
you
have
have a lot
thoughts
of
on Red
things
Furies
to
in
spend this.
general, but we don't have to talk about that right now.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, PS7 is always going to be a little bit disappointing, isn't it?
Let me just say, AP is not what makes a PS7 gun good, in my
Okay.
opinion. It
Yeah.
it
What
does
what
not
does what
make
would make it good then?
SR minus one.
Making it. Yeah. Okay.
Anything that
Making
does
it
not that
PS6.
makes it
Yeah.
less than PS7. Um, yeah, but
Yeah.
if you're starting to shoot at like high armor targets with your PS7 gun, in my personal opinion, you're doing something wrong anyways. And so,
Yeah. I hear
yeah,
that. Yeah. Yeah. It reminds me a little bit of what I was just saying about the Mobra Brigada in a way of like, you've got this gun which you can have 5 dice with, which is good. And it's almost the opposite of the Brigada, where the Brigada is like your flat BS13 and it can absorb hits, whereas the territorial is a bit more like, well, they've got marksmanship, so you're probably hitting a lot of the times, and you need to hit a lot of times for it to really push through wounds.
Yeah.
Having been a Hack Islam player in the past, you look at something. You're obviously a what are they called? Rama, a Rama Task Force player. You're a Rama Task Force player.
That is true.
You know what it's like to take the Mukhtar Red Fury
Oh, I
and
hate him so
just
much.
keep it wins all of the face-to-face rolls, but you just can't get those wounds through.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And
yeah,
it's
maybe
yeah,
AP would make it better in that respect.
you have you can you can also fight armor 2 models now, not only armor 0 and armor 1. I think that's the value proposition of the AP Red Fury. And if you start shooting at armor 3 units, again, you're already setting yourself up for disappointment.
Yeah,
And then
fair.
it's like, oh, cool, I have one more dice, which just gives my opponent one more chance to make the armor save.
I think you're
Yeah,
being a little too negative there, Chris. There's
maybe I have been burned by the Mukhtar and
yeah,
many other Furies and PS7
yeah.
guns. But actually, I'm sure like we could spend all night talking about those different Corregidor Fireteam combinations. There is a lot of cool stuff, but personally, I would actually love to jump to some other fire teams as well that
Yeah.
have gotten really good.
Lead the way. Lead the way.
Or like actually some combinations with wildcards and stuff like that. For example, one thing I really like is that the Vostok has gotten kind of a renaissance. The Vostok has been kind of dead for all of N5 so far because the kind of way you wanted to play the Vostok was in a Horus, and you maybe wanted to give it either an Invader with a Tin Bot in now Deep Space, or a mobile regard, like something with a Tin Bot, maybe an Engineer, and then maybe some other utility unit that just would make this a good Horus. And before the update, there was just no way. The Vostok didn't have a keyword, nothing else had a keyword. There were no good Horuses anymore, which was kind of sad. The Vostok was kind of an auto-include in N4, where you could have all the fire teams, and then in N5 it was like there was no reason to get it anymore. You were not, and the Mark 12 just with 3 dice was just on its own. You really didn't want to run it, and the Vostok had gotten nerfed on top of that as well. The fire team option had lost the repeater and everything. It was just like, nah. And now with all of those keywords, you can actually build both in deep space and in surface some really nice little Horuses again, where you can just slap a Vostok on top of it. And even I think the Spitfire loadouts that it got on top of that are actually pretty nice as well. Gives you extra burst. And so there is actually, there's a reason to play it again. It is back. It's back on the menu, boys, which I really love for it. You can even that becomes a little bit more janky. Like go to a core, even slap a Stempler on it as well. We can talk about the Stempler in a second as in general, but.
Yeah.
And like it, especially in deep space, where you can finally slap an evader onto it as well. Evader Engineer with Tinbot, which was always a good synergy with the Vostok. And now you can just round it out with even, just even something cheap like an Alguacil Hacker or Alguacil Paramedic or something like that. And now you can actually build some really good Horuses with the Vostok. So that's one thing I wanted to mention.
Yeah, I actually faced the very Vostok Harris that you're talking about last weekend in a tournament, and it was good. It was really good. I remember I had the Rudra in my list. And the Rudra is now really good, but for the longest time, the Vostok was like what the Rudra wanted to be when it grew up. with mimetism -6 and BTS 6 and just being basically better in every way. The Vostok I think is still better. Like Mim 6 is just great on a thing that you can give marksmanship to and easily link now.
Yes.
I'm really impressed by the Vostok, and I can see why you are, because it's it's just good. I mean, there's not a lot to say. I would say in a certain way, it's like, look at it. It looks
actually
good.
It's actually funny that I'm like so pro on her now. I hated her in N4 because she was like an auto include and everyone just played her, and I was like, it's so boring to, I'm not going to Corregidor to play a remote that I can play in every Nomad faction. I don't want to be the value proposition of Corregidor be like, oh, we can run the Vostok the best. It's like, great. How unique.
Okay.
But after it had been, fallen off such a steep cliff, I'm happy for it to kind of have scrambled, climbing plus its way back up to being playable again.
Nice.
Yeah. And then the other thing that got me really excited was, we have to talk about geckos and we have to talk about stemplers. And in that case, we actually have to talk about deep space more than surface, because while surface got some really cool stuff and gets all the new units, what deep space got was something that I had personally, that was on my wish list, and this is why I have to mention it, because actually my wish came true, was for evaders to get a keyword, and they did. They got the gecko keyword, and one of the other things that always disappointed me pre-Mazebreaker about Corregidor in N5 was that I think geckos are cool. I like them. I think they're a really cool tag. They have some really unique loadouts, skills, combinations. But up until now, you were kind of forced to either just run them solo, which is fine, but they have this Horus option, right? You wanted to run a cool gecko Horus, you wanted to put a special die on that, but the only way you could do it was to take 2 geckos, and that's already kind of meme list territory.
Yeah.
And all of that obviously changes now that Deep Space switches the Wildcat, which Surface just still has, for the Evader as a fire team option for the Gecko, and then the Evader picks up the Gecko keyword, which means you can either run just a Gecko duo now, Gecko Evader, which of course, again, it's a great combination. You either take a cheap Evader with a tin bot, I think it's the 23-point boarding shotgun version, or you actually go all out and you take the AP Spitfire Engineer, which is the most expensive package, but it's also probably the most rounded package. You have an engineer to repair it, or give it a tin bot, make it basically really hard to either get to the Gecko through hacking, especially since Gecko's picked up ECM Hacker -3 as well. And that plus the tin bot, it's basically -6. Yeah. But then you could also, and that's the thing, now we're getting to Stemplers, the big new Wildcat addition to Corregidor, which both Surface and Deep Space get, is the Stempler Wildcard, which was advertised at first at being like AVA2, which would have been insane. AVA2 not only in general, but also on the fire team chart, because then I would have honestly just be like Gecko, Stempler, and have 3 units with 6 orders.
Absolutely.
But even just one, which I guess is the saner thing, I think that's fine. But even just one, slap it on top of the Evader. Now you have a repeater. Now you have 5 orders still in that little Horus. The Evader can also repair your forward observer bot. You have a sensor with you. You have all of these cool things. I love that Horus. And no, I don't think you need to run the Vulcan Shotgun Gecko. But we can talk about the Vulcan Shotgun Gecko. You should.
You don't need to, but
you should. At least once. It's such a fun loadout, but I don't think it's like, oh my gosh, this is the best now. Like Vulcan Shotgun, AP Spitfire Gecko or something.
I feel like for me. That's what I want. I want the Gecko with the Vulcan shotgun and the Evader with the AP Spitfire, or
I've
maybe
run
even
it
the
once.
Feuerbach.
I've already run it, and no, it's not representative, but I can tell you how that went for me. The way
Okay.
it went for me was like the Gecko did all the shooting, the Evader did all the shooting, and the Gecko did nothing all game because there was just no way for me to get it into Vulcan shotgun range of anything. Because it's still a
Okay.
Horus, you need to track the whole Horus across the table. Geckos are 6'2", they're not especially fast. And then you need to get it into close range with something, which you probably don't want to. But it looks so fun,
Yeah.
right? Continuous damage,
Yeah.
PS4 Vulcan shotgun with like BS, like what is it? Burst 3.5?
Burst. Yeah. Burst 3.5. SR -2. So yeah, you're looking at PS.
It looks so fun.
I think it's even PS3. Is it Vulcan shotgun is PS5 normally?
If it is, then
Maybe
yeah,
not.
PS3.
Yeah. Either way, like it's just great. Like I hear what you're saying. I've had a lot of people say similar things about the reinforcement Azrael that has a Vulcan shotgun as well.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, I want to run
PS6.
that. And yeah, okay,
It is
PS6.
PS6. But it
So
keeps the AP. So it is AP continuous.
yeah, yeah,
PS4.
yeah, yeah. That's pretty good. I quite like that.
Or
But yeah, you're
you
right.
just have to be brave and was like, screw 8 inches. I'm just gonna shoot this thing on 16 inches on a 0. I don't care. I'm AP
Yeah,
continuous PS4. It's gonna work. I have 4
yeah. You
dice.
only have to hit once.
Yeah. And
Yeah, and I
compared
think
to the territorial, it will kill something.
yeah, absolutely. And I think if you're playing like objective room mission, if you're
Oh
playing
yeah.
like a zone control mission, then there's absolutely value there. I think you're right. Like there's going to be a lot of situations will pan out exactly as you describe, where you run around and you just never get that chance. But there'll be certain missions where it will just dominate because you walk into the middle of wherever you are. It's very difficult to hack, and you just start blazing away at anything that's in its
Exactly.
way.
Play it often enough until you have that situation and until it gets to shoot its glorious burst 3.5 continuous damage load into someone, and then sober up and play the multi-marksman rifle again.
Yeah, not the Mark 12 with what SR3,
That's
whatever
still
it's
on my
called.
list of things that I kind of begrudgingly have to do at some point. I guess a Mark 12 is also good.
Yeah,
I am a sucker for ammo types and
yeah,
having something DA on the object on the reactive turn. Having the
yeah.
Panzerfaust,
I
I
get that.
think, is better than the Blitzen. But sure, it's a PS3
Yeah,
gun. And PS3 is always fun to use, just to tell to tell your opponent, no, it's you start on a 3 and then you go from there. It's always
yeah,
fun. Um,
exactly. Yeah,
but I do
that was my
feel,
thinking about it.
yeah, if you just want damage, take the Mark 12. And then if you want real damage and think you can get plus, take the Vulcan shotgun.
Cool. I like it. Okay, what next? What else do you want to talk about?
Um, I actually think when it comes to fire teams, there's not like that much stuff that I feel like needs to be mentioned. A lot of the other stuff kind of actually stayed the same. Like the big changes were to the Corregidor fire teams with all of those keywords, but the Doctari, for example, that actually was advertised with the Corregidor keyword as well, doesn't actually have it, which is a bit of a shame
Oh yeah, that is a
because that
shame.
was kind of his value or her value proposition. Um, because without the keyword, there's really, in my opinion, no use taking the Doctari over an Alguacil paramedic.
Yeah, I mean,
And
I remember when we did the preview of this, one of the instant things we all said was like, yeah, you take a territorial with a Dactari, you get the extra die, and profit. But
Yes.
that's obviously not an
Which
option.
honestly, it was something that I wasn't too excited anyway, because as a Rama Task Force player, I am of the privileged opinion of thinking trying to doctor something without +3 is a waste of your orders. Like, if you want to doctor something, play Hak Islam, and otherwise don't bother. And if you just, it's fine just using a medikit. And then if you have a medikit, an Alguacil does the same job as a Doctari, and you pay 2 points less for it. So
Yeah, fair enough.
I'm not a fan of risking everything on a Whip 13 roll. A single one.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah. I guess the last thing we should mention is the shifter when it comes to
Yeah.
fire teams, because it is the one thing that also introduces an interesting new thing to Corregidor that it didn't have before, which is strategic deployment. And there will definitely be use cases for this. I don't think it's something that you should need to jump onto. Is like, oh my gosh, the strategic deployment in Corregidor, it's amazing. But I do actually think it is kind of a cool new little thing that gives you this tiny boost because like we said, Corregidor has always been, and now more than ever before, is the medium infantry faction, and that means a lot of 4/4 movement. And just having this little push to give a bunch of your units those extra 4 inches. We can talk about this, especially at the end with the list that I wrote, where I'm really hoping to benefit from the fact that I can take my Horus and just position it 4 inches further forward in certain
Yeah.
missions. Like radial deployment zone missions that have objectives. Those 4 inches are going to get you really far.
Yeah. For
Or
real.
even just if you take the mine layer shifter, just having a mine that is not completely bound to your deployment zone, that you can put a little bit further forward. And so this shifter being a wild card, even without a keyword, in combination with all of those Corregidor Fire Team keywords, just really gives you the option to build a nice little Horus and place it somewhere you normally wouldn't be able to.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I already mentioned the shifter. Of course, I agree with everything you said. I really like strategic deployment, especially on what is quite a cheap unit in the grand scheme of things. You get in
Yeah.
a lot of. I mean, I remember doing the preview and having to get the other guys to just sell me on this unit because I just couldn't get my head around it.
Same here.
Yeah,
First time I
but
looked at it, I was like, what is this unit supposed to do? It's like,
yeah,
it has strategic deployment, so you want it like somewhere forward, but then it's chain of command, so you want it in your back line, protected. But
yeah,
then it has sensor, which means you want to throw it forward again. And then it has a gun. Wait, am I supposed to
yeah,
shoot with it now? But it's only BS-12 with no mods. Wait, but it has triangulated fire. But that's
yeah.
what? Like, what is it supposed to do?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
had exactly the same thought. But
yeah,
after they sort of talked me through it, I really appreciate it. It's one of the kind of profile that I really enjoy, the kind of thing that I enjoy a lot in Infinity, when you have something which is a little bit technical. It's got a lot of different kinds of applications. I know there's a big sort of meta argument in the whole community, I would say, between people who like generalist profiles and people who like specialized profiles.
yeah.
And the specialized profile people tend to be much more competitive and vocally competitive about what they think about it. And so there's maybe a bit of a down tone on a more sort of generalist thing, but I feel like this shifter is it fits into a niche of it's kind of like it's not the glue for a fire team, of course, because it's a wild card, but you can take a couple of a couple of keyworded things in a fire team and throw in this shifter, and all of a sudden you just got this tons of extra utility in that fire team, with a specialist operative, with the sensor, with strategic deployment. It's just like multiply. It's like a force multiplier for any fire team that goes into.
Yeah.
And give it disco ballers, give it EM mines, whatever it happens to be.
Yeah.
I don't have a huge amount of time for the Thunderbolt. I'm not, triangulated fire feels like it's an occasional thing you use when you really need to. I'm not going to be rolling out that Thunderbolt and doing triangulated fire all the time. But other than that, I think it's great. And
which is exactly why Corvus Belli included that loadout in the box. That everyone is the least excited about.
Yeah, of course.
Always have to be. Yeah, and I guess especially something like strategic deployment is the kind of skill where I'm like for example, Yara Haddad in Haq Islam and basically everywhere except Rama Task Force, of course, because Rama Task Force sucks. According to some people on the internet,
she's not okay either, to be fair. But yeah.
Yeah, and in Hassassin Baram, you get a strategic deployment loadout, where it's like, but am I gonna pay extra for that? And there are I feel like there are a lot of units that have this and then you get the strategic deployment loadout, but you pay 2 points more, and it's like, nah, it's not worth that. I'm not gonna pay for that. But on a unit like this, where it's 17 points and it's included, sure, I'm gonna take it.
Yeah. You're not paying extra for that skill, are you? Yeah.
Exactly. And there is so much other, like you said, there's so much other utility on it. There is a sensor on it. It has either mines or a disco baller. It has a template. It is a specialist. It even has stealth. It's there is a bunch of stuff in there that you're going to be able to use. And then there is a bunch of stuff in there that you probably never use. But again, for 17 points, which honestly is my preferred loadout, I'm not going to complain. It's not it's paying out of the nose for that.
Yeah. I mean, even that thing, as you said, of being able to just put that EM mine on turn 0 and put it outside your deployment zone.
Exactly.
It just feels like there's a huge amount of value just in that, literally that one thing it can do. And then of course it does a load of other things as well.
Yep.
Cool.
But I guess, for me, I think those are the fire team things. And I mean, we've already talked about a lot of the units now, but we can there's still more stuff that we can highlight.
So what stands out for you? Is there anything in particular?
I was thinking if we could talk maybe a little bit from the perspective of winners and losers from this fire team, from this update, because there are some things that are really that you look at as this is amazing, and then there were other things where at least I was thinking, this is cool, but it could have been so much more. And then there are other things where it's these didn't get anything. Sorry, guys.
Okay.
So let's start with the winners, shall we?
Please.
And I guess let's start with the new units, because obviously that's the new hot shit. And I guess personally for me, the biggest winners from the new units are definitely the Coyotes and the Territorials. And I'm gonna start with the Coyotes because they're my absolute favorite from the new things. First of all, because I think the model looks the coolest. Hello there. Cool. Riot shield, poncho, and a beret on top of a mask, of a helmet. Yes, please. With a cool little bot. Like a mini iguana bot.
I love that too. And the pattern on the poncho, is there a pattern on the poncho as well?
There's a pattern on the poncho, which
sort
I'm
of,
still debating if I should try to replicate that on mine.
Dangerous.
Yes. And the profile slaps. Right?
Yeah.
MSV1 BS attack +1 special die on a BS 13 unit. It has this really interesting dodge arm +3 skill, which is new. But which I remember you already talked about in the preview episode. They're all forward observers. They all have Warhorse. So already negating a lot of mods and then just having the best BS attack skill in the game. Yeah, what's not to love? And that's before we talk about Bomba bots and Bomba droids. which we have like, come on, how cool is that name?
Really good. Really good. Really good
It's
at
a
unit
Bambabot.
symbols as well. Really good.
Yeah. um, yeah, and so I guess things that already have been noted by many people, but I'm just gonna bring them up again because it is what makes this unit so good. If you take it with a Bambabot, Bambabots are forward observers as well. Um, if you take the peripheral version, they already have forward deployment baked in, 4 inches. Um, you get either a mine dispenser or the flash pulse. Um, and that means, first of all, both of them being forward observers means they can do the Auxilia thing from NCA, where you have a unit with a peripheral that both are specialists, and you just get to roll 2 dice whenever you press a button if you put them both into contact with the objective, and that's just so good. Already makes this an amazing specialist, and then you have all the other utility from having two units that can both shoot. I know there's this controversy about like, can the Coyote shoot and the Bambabot forward observe at the same time? I am personally of the opinion that they can. Both of them are labeled
Yeah.
as BS attacks.
That sounds right to me, yeah.
Yeah. And so you can put some really nasty forks on your opponent. And especially since forward observe doesn't even get an armor save, right? You are targeted.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
if you
in
hit,
a
that's it. Yeah.
exactly. And in a faction that still likes to bring a missile bot most of the time. It's just so cool. And as much as I have maligned PS7 weapons, if there's a PS7 weapon that I like, it's a multi-marksman rifle, because at least you have those ammo types with it, and
Yeah.
yeah, and he has the special die baked in. So I think for me the favorite is the peripheral multi-marksman rifle with the Bamba bot. I'm actually not sure if the mine dispenser is the better thing than the flash pulse. Decharges is nice for doing objectives as well. Again, I do think, I'm not entirely sure, but I do think in something like corporate appropriation that both can slap their decharge on it,
Yeah.
on the prototype,
Yeah. That's
which
a
is
really
really
good
nice
idea.
as well.
Yeah, being able to take it out in, almost guaranteed taking it out in one order is, can be very valuable, can't it?
Exactly. Flash Pulse PS6 is nice, and it's a deployable repeater. And yeah, I'm not sure why people love the mine dispenser that much. Again, I guess because it's always an order outlet. You can always just try to throw some mines. But so is a deployable repeater.
Yeah.
And again, you're rolling 13s on the mine dispenser because it has a +3 range band, which I guess is okay. But
Yeah. It's okay. I
yeah,
think Mind Dispenser is really appealing because, of course, you can be in a safe place and put a mine somewhere irritating.
yes,
But also that mine, if I remember correctly, does not get camo like a
no,
normal deployed mine would do.
no,
So, there is a weakness in that respect. And, AP mines are good. They're not like changing the world though. It's not an existential threat to a lot of things, like
it's not a
maybe a
DAS you
viral mine would be.
with
Yeah.
mine layer 2, mine viral mines and deployment
Yeah,
zone,
exactly.
infiltration reroll, or whatever it's called. No, just
It's
infiltration
nice.
reroll.
It's helpful. It's nice. But yeah, I like the flash pulse too. I think having an extra damage flash pulse and a decharge is handy, and obviously, as you say, deployable repeater as well. And to your point about the forward observer, just to come back around to that, I really like that opportunity you have to offer two face-to-face opportunities to your opponent. They're only going to have one die, and it's like maybe they want to kill your coyote because then it obviously turns the Bamba bot off. But if the Bamba bot hits, they are potentially in big trouble if you have a missile. So then
Yeah,
it's kind of an interesting fork, a different kind of a fork. It's not like a template shotgun fork. It's like, okay, how do you want to like do this? Do you want to delay getting hit but get hit harder later, or do you want to like take the hit now and maybe you
yeah,
survive it, but then you still get forward observed? Like it's a very, very good fork, very powerful fork there.
yeah, yeah. What not to love?
Yeah.
There's the killer hacker profile as well, which people have talked about. Which I agree. I guess in that case, you better take him linked
Yeah.
because it's like it's a Montesa knight at home, right? Doesn't have 2
Yeah.
wounds, doesn't have armor 5, but it is still 3 dice on an emitter with MSV1 and Warhorse.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good.
Um,
I mean, that was
good.
something when we were talking about it in the preview. That was something Ollie Blessed Bee was talking about. Was one thing that they pointed out as being like, this piece is my favorite piece. I think was what they said, or words to that effect. Just because
Yeah.
it's this emitter ARO, it's as you say, it's only 1 wound, 2 arm. It's not going to live forever, but it's only 23 points, and it's got a very high ceiling in terms of what it can stop. So yeah, I
Yes.
like that.
Yeah. I guess the reason for me personally why I'm still more hyped about the multi-marksman rifle is maybe just because I am such a diehard Rama Task Force player, and I can just see my opponent putting this on the table, and it's like, oh, that's cool. I have Warhorse. Bye.
Yeah,
On a medium infantry that's unhackable. Um, and yeah, so there are situations playing against Morats or something, and there are a lot of Warhorse units in there where it's like, that's cute that you're bringing this gun that can't kill me and actually cannot do anything to me. Goodbye.
hmm Okay, who else? What other things are winning? Let's rattle
Yeah,
through a few.
let's keep going.
Yeah,
We already talked about Bamba droids. I don't think I need to mention them again. Territorials. We already talked about those as well. Um, Another just, all around great medium infantry. I think their praises have been sung already as well. I'm not sure if I actually have something super new to add to them that others haven't already said. I
which is your
am
favorite?
honestly the AP marksman rifle. Um,
Exciser,
because
yeah. Hmm.
yeah, the X visor just makes a difference. You don't pay any SWC. It is cheaper than the Red Fury. Um, I like I said, I like that there's an option for a lieutenant, but I don't actually think I personally will run it particularly often. And just having the better range bands on your marksmanship, and the 1 die doesn't make the difference for me compared to the Red Fury. And oh, here's another hot take for me. I personally think that Red Furies should never cost 1.5 SWC. And I think the
Yeah,
Territorial is the perfect showcase for that, because you look at those 2 loadouts next to each other and you're like, I am getting 1 dice. That's the only difference between those 2 weapons. And I'm
yeah,
paying 1 point for what? I
yeah.
don't
That's
get
fair.
it. And I know like there are a lot of Red Furies that cost 1 SWC in the game. The Mukhtar is the
Mm.
best example. And I always
Yeah,
like, a Red Fury for me is not a gun that's in the same category as a Spitfire or an HMG or something, just because it has 4 dice. It has, and like even like the AP Red Fury doesn't even keep shock, right? It's just AP.
is it only if it doesn't keep the shock
Nope,
ammo? Wow.
nope,
Okay.
it doesn't.
Oh,
And
that's
so it's
interesting.
like, yeah, I that's just that kind of destroys the UK's use case for the Red Fury for me. It's just too
Sure.
much SWC, and yeah, and the lieutenant. And now, especially like before that, before we saw the actual profile, where only the Red Fury had the tactical awareness, it was like, well, that's probably something to consider. But now that every loadout has tactical awareness, yeah, I'm gonna
Hmm.
take the AP marksman.
Yeah. Yeah. Fair.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, all those AP submachine guns. There are so many AP submachine guns. I don't know why Corregidor has to be the AP submachine gun faction now. AP does not make a submachine gun good either. It's why they had it built in N4.
Yeah.
And I know people were complaining about SMGs in N4, but I don't think an AP submachine gun is a great weapon. And if I'm paying points for a unit that's supposed to be shooty and, with marksmanship and all of these things, then I want a gun that does something at least.
Yeah. Yeah, fair. Okay, what's next?
What's next? Big winner, Wildcat Hacker. Let's switch to a classic unit. The Wildcat Hacker was already a staple of Corregidor, and for some reason, and well, we could already talk winners losers here. For some reason, the Wildcat Hacker gets 0 pain, which is amazing and just makes it so much better. And none of the rest gets anything. That's not really true. There is like a cheaper engineer loadout now. The boarding shotgun
lieutenant gets
engineer,
+1 order. Lieutenant gets +1 order.
which
That's okay.
you look at, people had looked at Wildcats before this update and was like, they had so many great ideas how to make them good. And I think the one that everyone wished for, and in my opinion, that would have been reasonable, was like, take the MSV1 from the base profile, just give it to the NCO, to the Spitfire, and the heavy rocket launcher, so everything else can get cheaper and without paying for something that they're never going to use, right?
Yeah.
But for some reason, Corvus Belli is married to the idea that Wildcats needs MSV1, and so they all keep it, and they stay exactly the same. And yeah, or like, the NCO needed something as well. Give it an AP Spitfire. Give it, I don't know, something else. But no. And the Lieutenant +1 order is like, wow, now you have 2 Lieutenant orders in Corregidor. What are you going to spend them on? First of all, a Gator, maybe. But then you're still paying for a 25-point Lieutenant that does nothing. And it's super expensive to get a decoy for it, which you're not going to do because the decoy also does nothing. And so that one order, that one Lieutenant order could much better be spent by just having 2 troops with a regular order, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair.
Get your 2 Alguaciles, spend the points somewhere else.
Yeah.
I think it's a trap.
All right, fair enough.
Then
other
winners, Tomcats. And again, unfortunately, just a single Tomcat loadout that gets a win. I don't know. In my opinion, parachutist units kind of got the short end of the stick in N5 because
big time.
Yeah, I feel like if there's a big patch again sometime later this year, I really like one thing I really, really wish for is that every unit that's just parachutist also gets like a considerable points drop. Because with N5 it was like, okay, all the combat jump units, we realized that there's a downside to them. If you combat jump them and you fail the roll, then it's kind of wasted. So we're gonna make them cheaper. But then we're also giving all combat jump units super jump jet propulsion. And so that already mitigates the fact that if you fail the roll, you still have a fast unit and you're pretty quick where you want to be. But then they also got cheaper. And now every combat jump unit, which most of them also have parachutist, so they have both options. They're cheaper and they're super mobile. And all the normal parachutist units just got stuck with the same points formula for some reason and not getting anything. And so you have, especially in like Corregidor, you have something like the Tomcat, which until now, the cheapest was always the 19.0 half 0.5 SWC one. And you compare it to the Hellcat, which is 19 points boarding shotgun, no SWC, and has combat jump and super jump, right? It's like, this doesn't make sense. And I would have wished that they had like rethought the entire unit, which they didn't. Like Zondcats got climbing plus, which is nice. I would have wished for them to also, maybe pick up a light flamethrower as well. I think that would have been cool. That you can actually fork with the Tomcat and the peripheral. But they did get here this paramedic 17-point unit, which means it's just a submachine gun, but you don't take it for the gun. You take it for being a super cheap specialist that starts off the board. And it still has climbing plus. I already used her in one game. and that climbing plus came super handy. There was an objective on a building. I bring her in at the end of round 3, and she's just up there super quickly and presses the button. And that's all you want. And for 17 points and no SWC, I'm going to take that. I'm probably never going to take another loadout, but I will take this.
Yeah, that is very useful, isn't it? I think the climbing plus, it's interesting, isn't it? I was looking at it thinking, well, the climbing plus is like nice, but it's still quite a slow unit. But when you have something that cheap, that then you can, I don't know, somehow the value of that climbing plus in my mind goes up by just having such a cheap piece that you go, it comes on, but it can climb over a building and get where you need it to go and press the button or whatever.
Exactly.
So yeah, nice.
Yeah. So again, winners and losers in the same unit. Unfortunately, every other loadout is a loser. And I'm just realizing I'm talking about this way too late, but obviously, probably the biggest winner of all the existing units, the intruder sniper.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Yeah, which I guess no one will ever write a Corregidor list without him ever again, or her, because holy shit, that's everything you could ever want. It finally lost the X-Visor, which is like the most useless piece of equipment on a gun with the best range bands in the game, and got the special die. But at the same time, this also means we have winners and losers in the same unit, because before this change, you kind of always took the HMG, unless you were a certain Australian Infinity player. And now you always take the multi-sniper because the HMG didn't get anything either, and you're paying exactly the same amount of points in SWC for both. But the multi-sniper is just clearly superior.
Yeah, it really is, isn't it, actually? It is interesting. They are exactly the same cost in both SWC and points. So you're like, okay, well, you could literally make 2 lists that are identical and just switch them out if you really wanted to. Have one list with HMG and one with a sniper. If you really wanted to test them, like do a little bit of science and be like, this piece has got different weapons. How does it make a difference? I can tell you from a receiving end, again, having the same match I was talking about earlier on, playing against Corregidor, and I could not get past the intruder sniper. I foolishly did not bring any white noise or albedo in my OSS list, and I just couldn't. I got a little bit unlucky, but the luck kind of also came out by the fact that this intruder is just staring over the whole of the board. I couldn't get past it, so I had to weave my way around, like around terrain, spend a load of orders, get there, take the face-to-face, and I still lost. And that was like, okay, so the dice was a bit unlucky, but also I had to spend half a dozen orders just to get there. And it was a great piece. It just locked down the table, and I couldn't really do anything against it. Of course, if you're bringing albedo or you're bringing white noise or both, then that's a weakness for the intruder. But in those instances, you're going to deploy it a little bit more carefully. But if you're playing into a faction that doesn't have those tools, or someone who doesn't really use those tools, then your intruder is just going to dominate. I think it's a very good piece.
And even if you do that, if the Corregidor player knows what he's doing and he's deploying well, you're still going to have, it's not as easy as just, okay, I'm just going to slap white noise onto it and he dies. You have to get in the correct range. If he deploys well, he's going to outrange most of your guns. And then it's still a mimetism piece, and which means your own MSV will not work through white noise on him. And it still has the special die. It's still rolling 2 dice, and it's gonna roll them on 10s or 7s. And as someone who has recently played a lot of Alpha Seed duos, which I personally am of the opinion are really good, you don't know how many times you end up rolling 7s if you have the dice. But at the same time, it's like, I don't understand, like, whoever did this change apparently was like, okay, everyone's, like, in my mind, whoever from Corvus Belli did this change was like, everyone has been talking about this all the time. They either want +1 burst or something for the multi-sniper. Fuck it, let's just give him +1 special die, take the X-Visor, make him 38 points, done.
Yeah.
and not gave a single thought to the fact that if you have to choose between a gun that is AP or double action and has the better range band and now only is one dice behind the HMG, this will obviously eclipse the HMG. And if you now make both the same points cost, it's just objectively better. And not going back and being like, wait, okay, but how do we make the HMG competitive as well against this? It's kind of sad for the HMG now because now it's kind of
a little
retired.
bit.
And yeah, and no one's talking about the hacker because the hacker is still bad.
And it's still, I mean, it got a lot of extra stuff as well. I quite like it. I mean, it's got it's infiltrating hacker specialist with a template and an AP gun,
Of
decharges
course you do, because
grenades.
you like multi-role profiles.
I do, but like it's got it's got the potential to do like a huge amount of cards of classified objectives. It's elite. It's a medium infantry. It's got MSV2. It's got decharges. It's a hacker. Like, yeah, it's 33 points. So
It's
probably you're
33
not going to
points, and
take
you're
it.
paying for MSV2 to do classifieds and nothing else, because you're not going to kill something with an AP SMG again. Or maybe
Well, I
you
don't know. I mean,
do. Plus one
yeah,
burst. I don't
you
know.
can be hunting skirmishers in the midfield with that. But then the risk is, of course, nowadays with skirmishers, there's so many mines that you could just easily go around a corner to shoot something and it's a mine and you die.
Exactly. And it exists in
So
a
there is a
faction
big
where
risk.
coyotes exist now as well.
Yeah,
And
yeah, of course.
so, yeah. No,
Yeah.
I've never played him.
Okay.
I don't think I ever will. If I'm spending points on an intruder, I'm going to take a sniper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fair. Okay. What
And
next?
then big winner. It's been all the rage now, quite literally. Diablos, who are
Okay.
just fucking cracked now. Um, like they went on a journey, man, since N4.
They were rubbish when they came. Can I just say, I looked at those when I saw them and I was like, what is this? It's two
Exactly.
wins, but just rubbish at everything else.
And then with N5, when they were made irregular, but Fireteam Master with Diablos, and you had like the 9-point profile, it's like, oh, maybe this is, and they were still kind of rubbish. But now they're not, because now they are CC23 Berserk +3, CC attack +1 burst with a Transhammer PS5 for 8 points. That's regular if you
A natural born warrior as well.
a natural born warrior. That's regular if you put it together with a low. And obviously, honestly, I don't even think you have to take a Lobo as well. You could just stick it with a Jaguar. They have the same keywords now.
Yeah.
And yep.
Yeah, honestly, you get this into somebody's deployment zone and it's gonna be terrifying. Like how do I deal with this monster in CC?
Yep. And then it still has grenades.
Yeah.
And on top of that, and this is something I don't know. Again, there are so many things with Corvus Belly where I'm like, why? Because on top of the Trenchhammer PS5, for some reason it also has just a normal CC weapon PS5.
Yeah.
Why? What is it
Why?
supposed? They even went
Yeah.
to the effort of giving it PS5.
Yeah.
But
yeah, it's not like a typo, like they just left CC weapon in there by accident. They really
no,
actually decided to do that. Yeah.
I don't understand. But who cares? It has a trench hammer.
It's a trench hammer. It's a trench hammer disposable.
Nope. It's just a
Oh, it's
double
not.
action.
But I was thinking because it's got a ranged stat, doesn't it? So you can throw it. I was thinking, could you throw it and then you run out of them? But I guess not. Yeah, I can't
don't
think of a
think
good
so.
reason.
Which kind of would make it. No, I mean, I guess it's like grenades. Just I don't know how trench hammers are like grenades. I don't know how many trench hammers people carry around with them. But no, they're not disposable.
Oh no, they are.
No, they
I've just looked them
are.
up. Disposable 3.
So they are carrying 3 trench
you,
hammers with them.
yes, and so if you use them as in a BS attack, which is a 0 range band inside 8 and no other range bands.
Yes.
So you can throw them on I guess you're throwing on Fizz. So it's like a 13 to hit. If you do that 3 times, and you still have things to kill in CC, then yeah, you have something as a backup.
Is this the reason? You think this is the reason they
I
have this?
think so. I think so. Yeah, that would be my
Like,
guess anyway.
actually, this would be an interesting FAQ question. If you, because the disposable 3 is only on the BS mode,
Yeah.
so if you throw 3 trench hammers, do you just lose the option to throw it? Or do you lose the trench hammer in CC mode as well?
Oh, no, you do lose it in CC mode as well. Actually, looking at this, they're both disposable 3.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, so that's
I
why.
managed to overlook disposable 3 2 times. Both on the BS
And
mode and the CC mode.
that's interesting as well, because if you have if you have something where you have to destroy something, you've got anti-material, so you might want to save your trench hammer. If you're fighting through, you manage to kill something, you attack something in CC, but you need to blow something else up afterwards. Then you
Yeah.
have to actually make a choice there of like, well, I might need those to blow the thing up.
Yeah, so
So that's interesting.
yeah, because disposable in CC also means you can only hit something 3 times with it.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm
What a
still
weird weapon.
I'm sorry. I have to dwell on it, but like that also makes me think is it a weapon that in their minds, like, do they have 3 of them and it always, you either throw it and then it's gone, or you hit someone with it and it breaks immediately, or like
Yeah.
does it break after 3 hits and and
Uh,
it comes back to you 3 times at the same time in BS mode? Like, how does it
I think
work?
I think the models, when you look at the models, it's like a hammer that's made of like 4 cylinders. So I wonder if like it shoots them off or something, or shoots something out of them. Maybe, I don't know. Yeah,
Or
weird.
like those cylinders push some extra. That's why it's double action. There are so many. We're going way too deep into the
Yeah,
Transhammer rabbit
yeah.
hole, but
Yes, much too.
it's an episode idea. Do a whole episode just on speculation on how Transhammers work. Get someone
What
from
is a
Corvus
trench
Belly. Get Coutier to explain it to you.
hammer?
All right.
Yeah, no, I've tried to get Gutier on before. He only does interviews in person. But Gutier, if you're listening, we are here. We will listen to you. You don't have to, we'll do it online. It'll be fine. I promise.
Maybe it's
Joking.
a blog post. It's worth a blog
Yeah,
post.
yeah,
Just
yeah.
explain it to the community, because there are 2 people who are really interested now.
I'm really confused.
All right,
Okay.
let's go a little bit faster. A couple
Yes.
other
Yeah.
winners: Iguana Squadron, because for some reason now there exists a BS attack -3 loadout
That was mad.
for 4 points
Uh,
more. Which, yes, please.
yeah, I honestly don't know why you would take the Mind Dispenser one now. I mean, Mind Dispenser's cute, but we covered that earlier on. It's fine. It's a useful thing, but why do you not want BS Attack -3? It's now a top tier gunfighter.
I don't know,
Like, it's
because
really good.
you're missing 4 points somewhere, and my
Yeah,
dispenser is still nice. It's still it's a fork. You could
yeah,
set up a fork if you want to, but
yeah.
I probably, yeah. If I have the points, I will always go for the BS attack -3. You
I
take it.
would.
You take attack to shoot. So if it shoots
Yeah,
better, take the one that shoots better.
I'd be really. I mean, we'll get into your list later on, and I've only seen one of them so far, but I'd be struggling not to include an iguana in like every list. When I was playing QK, I had an iguana as often as I could manage, and now they're even better. And I'm like, this is just an amazing gun. Why do I want anything else in my list? Like, I build my list around this, surely.
Um, the only reason I can think of the top of my head is depending on the mission, because it's an escape system tag, and it's not a specialist. Um,
Hmm.
and you can, it's a flavor choice, and I think that's actually nice about Corregidor now. You have choices. You're not shoehorned into just playing that one unit or something.
Yeah.
And in some missions, if I want to still bring attack, I would probably prefer like the gecko thing, where I can slap a specialist
Mm,
onto it as well.
true.
But yes, it's a really good tag, and it's gonna be really fun to play with that.
Hmm.
Yes, and then lastly, small win. It's the smallest of wins. The Bandit Mine Layer, for some reason, got 1 point cheaper.
Okay.
Probably
Keep.
because BS Attack +1 special die costs less than BS Attack +1 burst. That's the only change of that unit. But
Yeah.
yes, I'll take that points
Absolutely.
reduction for the funniest mine layer in the game, except for the Dazu, because fuck the Dazu. But yeah, you that's the fun thing in Corregidor. Put a repeater right in front of the deployment zone of your opponent. Now
Yeah.
for 1 point cheaper.
Yeah. Yeah. There's not a lot to say about Corregidor's bandits that have not been said before. I think they're great. And
Yeah.
yeah, a little bit cheaper. Can't go wrong.
Winners list Bearcats. Bearcats are great. I don't think I need to say that much about Bearcats. That hasn't been said already as well. They're amazing. Beautiful heavy infantry. Does so many things. I think my favorite is the Killer Hacker. Boarding shotgun +1 burst. Has its own firewall. It's a specialist. It has a boarding shotgun +1 burst, which is always great. Warhorse, combat jump, super jump. What else do you want? Hard to hack. Can kill other hackers. Can kill other stuff with his boarding shotgun. Boarding pistol +1 burst for a nice fork.
That's great.
That one and the Spitfire. I think Ollie had pretty much the same thing about to say about him, right? Either the boarding shotgun or the Spitfire.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
And then maybe a couple losers, a bit.
Yeah.
Not like terrible losers, but I do think from all the new units, the Vigilantes are kind of the least compelling to me, which is kind of sad because I saw them and I was like, ooh, counterintelligence on a skirmisher. That's cool.
Yeah.
But then I started to think about lists and I was like, Corregidor has, like, even now, it has a lot of slots that are already filled. And especially the midfield specialist guy is like, it needs to have a really strong reason for me to replace Moran. Like, I'm already usually taking 2 Morans, and this needs to replace it. And it's paying at least 10 points more for counterintelligence, but it's only forward deployment. It's not infiltration. And the guns are kind of weird. Like, the best, for me personally, for a skirmisher, the best gun would be the boarding shotgun +1 burst again, but that's the forward observer. And it's like, well, but I already have forward observers with my Morans. I was excited about the sensor on the hacker again, because I was like, wow, forward deployment sensor. That's kind of cool on the camouflage. But it's a hacker, which means you need to be really sure that the thing you're censoring is not a killer hacker, because otherwise you're just going to get Trinity'd for free when you declare your sensor. And all the other loadouts are paying through the nose for those multi-rifles. And that's kind of the same problem the Sombras have. And the Sombras are also kind of in the loser category because they didn't really get anything too exciting either, which they really needed.
Yeah.
And they also have this like multi-rifle problem. It's like, I'm not sure if I want to pay for that kind of gun on a skirmisher. And so I don't know. I find those a little bit awkward, a little bit hard to justify, a little bit hard to. They feel like more of a vanity pick because you want to play them, but not something where I'm like, oh, this is so cool. This is like an amazing addition.
Yeah, you've got to really have a plan for them, as you say. Like, you've got to, because they're so expensive. You've got to really know, okay, if I'm taking this, like if you take that armed turret one, which is kind of a cool idea, it's 29 points. That's a lot. That's a lot to spend on a camo guy that could just, get censored out or, die in any number of ways,
Yeah. And if it were only like, if it were again, it's kind of similar to the shifter, but in a bad way, where the shifter is the thing in a good way. Like, having counterintelligence on a skirmisher is kind of cool because you could play into this whole, hey, well, I don't know what's under that camo marker, and you could have counterintelligence or you couldn't, I don't know, if it were something like 20 points.
Yeah.
If it would just something that would be there as well. But going all the way to spend those 25 points and sometimes have an SWC for that, especially since Corregidor still doesn't have a great camo game, and it's most likely probably your only camouflage marker in the midfield, unless you're taking camo Morans, or unless you take a bandit that's not the mine layer and you don't over infiltrate them.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean,
you have to.
Are you building a list then? Are you going camo heavy and you take a vigilante and a sombra and a, is
You
that
can't.
something you're ever
That's
going
the
to
thing.
do? Oh, you can't. Of course, you can't
That's
take
the
them in
thing.
the same one.
Sombras are deep space.
They're deep space. Yeah. Okay. So then it's vigilantes, Morans, bandits. And is that it? That's all your camo info, right?
Yeah, or you go even more awkward and you like put your vigilante in your deployment zone so you can confuse people which one is your intruder and which one is the vigilante, but that's not a good spend of 25 points.
No, quite right.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So
You've convinced me it's awkward. I was surprised when you said it was one of the losers, but now you're talking me through it. I might be inclined to agree with you there.
that's the thing. Like, I think if you just look at them in a vacuum, you're like, that's pretty cool. But then if you look at them in the context of Corregidor, and it's like, which unit is it replacing? It's like, I'm not sure which one. Like, why would I take this instead of just taking the Moran and having 90% of the same thing, and a repeater, and paying 10 points less and having those 10 points to spend on other things that can do more. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Anything else?
Sombras are still kind of sad. Sombras got the saddest upgrade of all of them, where the hacker, who still costs 40 points, gets Carbonite PS6. It's like, wow, thanks, CB. Now it's good.
Yeah.
They did get the 29 points AP submachine gun, which is also kind of a really sad upgrade because you start out like, yay, I'm only paying 29 points now, under 30 points for a Sombra. This is great. And at the same time, you're like, but now it also only has another AP SMG.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I guess again, if you don't like with the Tomcat paramedic, if you don't actually want to shoot anything, 29 points for an NWI forward observer in the midfield. And in that case, NWI is an actual benefit over a Moran compared to the Vigilante.
And it's shock immune as well. Like when I think, so you've mentioned the Dassu a couple of times. In the old days, Dassus were no in cap and not shock immune, and they cost more points than the Sombra, and were arguably worse.
Are they now shock immune? Because they lost and no wound in cap. I know that.
Well, they lost all of that, but they gained all the other. They've changed and they've become like more of a traditional skirmisher in that they're not so tough anymore. But they were always kind of in that weird zone where it's like, oh, it's NWI, but not shock immune. And what's the thing that a skirmisher is going to encounter most in the midfield? Shock mines. So this is not so helpful. But so I do like the idea of an NWI shock immune piece, 8 inches forward.
You just have to make peace with the fact that it's not going to kill a lot of things.
That's the thing, isn't it? It's like, oh, cool. And also like a Red Fury. When you think in terms of range and burst, you're within one order of getting good range band onto somebody, but you're shooting your Red Fury.
And you're paying 36 points for it.
Yeah. I feel you. I feel like whenever I've looked into Corregidor, I thought Sombras are cool. The model is cool. I'm like, yeah, I really would like to work with those, but I can see how they sit in a similar category to the Vigilantes, where it's like there's a lot of good stuff there, but it's not really quite hanging together as a coherent thing that you really want to spend those points on.
Yeah, it's the kind of unit that would have really benefited from just some optimization. I don't care. Make it CC13, make it BTS3, shave off some points, take away the light shotguns from the multi rifles because they're not really doing anything.
Yeah.
And it's just, give them some reason to be a bit cheaper, to get a couple more loadouts under 30 points or something. Give the hacker an
Yeah.
actual useful upgrade.
Yeah.
Give it a firewall or something.
If you give that hacker a +1 SD on Carbonite, like the Naga has in OSS, then you're like, okay, that's then a real thing. You can go, I will counter deploy a flyer with this.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's 40 points, but I can get my 2 dice on that flyer, and then it can do other stuff after that if it survives.
That would have been amazing. Or even just combining the hacker and the killer hacker, make it a hacker upgrade Trinity.
Yeah, that would be cool too.
Or killer hacker upgrade Oblivion, make it a 0 SWC hacker. Give,
Yeah.
So Corregidor can save some more SWC somewhere. There would have been options there, and the fact that again they only changed one loadout or like added one loadout and everything else kind of stayed the same. It's a little bit sad.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else?
I just realized we did forget to talk about the other things that evaders got with albedo and deactivator reroll, but we can talk about this when we talk about the lists. Which, if you're fine with it, I think, did we miss anything important? Corregidor finally got the Meteors on, which is a little bit of like too little too late.
Yeah, a little bit.
They finally got it, but it doesn't make a big splash now.
No.
It's fine.
Yeah, it's a nice piece. I mean, it's fast, and I have a lot of time for the Meteors on, but
me too.
Yeah, the kind of the game has passed it by a little bit. I think it's still, you still get some good stuff out of it, and it's like cheap, and I think you can build your lists in a way of be like, yeah, I'm going to have a Meteors on, and I'm going to use it and get good with it and surprise people. But it's not like, it's you're not just slamming it into the list like you are with the Intruder, Sniper, or a Coyote or whatever. Like, you have to think about it.
Yeah, and one more loser, Lupe Balboa. She was in a good spot, I felt like, and now they were like, take Doggett, give her shock immune instead, which I would rather have her Doggett.
That's fair.
And another one of those sad AP submachine gun side grade nerfs, whatever it is. And
Chain of command, though, that's helpful.
If you really, that's the thing. Corregidor players have so long now played without chain of command that now it feels like, I'm too strong. There's this meme like, I've already surpassed this. I don't need this anymore. Like, sure, if you think you need chain of command now, fine. If you want to play the Mobile Brigada HMG in deep space, sure. But especially in Surface with the 21 point shifter, it's like the shifter does so much more.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Oh, are we done with? Well, before we get into that, I am duty bound to remind our listeners that we are currently in the campaign. If you hadn't noticed, the Monday Signal is currently underway. We're nearing the end, in fact. And as has been shown in our previous episodes, we've been having a giveaway, and the giveaway is now concluded. So, if you are listening, Edgar from Mataro in Spain, you have won a new shiny box of Operation Mazebreaker. Corvus Belli will be in touch with you to send it out to you and get it to you, and hopefully soon. So wait for that email. I assume it's an email. But otherwise, for those of you still tuning in, the campaign is still going and is still going strong, and you have only, I think, 1 week left to influence the new direction of the game as it moves forward into the next narrative phase after this release. So get playing and play our mission, which is out now, which is the Mega Beast Sleeps Tonight, which is a very fun mission we came up with. Mostly it was Jordan doing his good work on that one. We sort of, the rest of us helped around the edges a little bit. But it's a really fun one. If you have a Mega Beast from Tag Raid or from Warcrow Adventures, I think, then you can use that model in this mission, or any other big model will do. Or no model, you can just use a smoke template. And hopefully you can have some fun with that and let us all know how it goes. So that's the end of that little announcement. I left it to the middle of the podcast, or towards the end of the podcast, so that if you're listening, you want to know about it, you listen all the way through, or most of it, and get to know what's happening. So
You sneaky,
with that,
sneaky man.
yeah, I definitely didn't forget to do it at the start. That's for sure. So
can
without further
only
ado,
confirm everything else you said.
Yes.
The campaign is amazing. The missions are so much fun. The Mega Beast mission, I love it. I don't have a Mega Beast, but when I saw it, I was like, this is such a great idea to give people another chance to put this model on the table. So
yeah, that's what we thought. Yeah.
especially with like the setup and the build up for it, where it's like you had the narrative actually accumulating towards that, and now you actually get to play against bubbles.
Exactly. Yeah, it was a nice process. Well, I mean, most of us in the Whip 12 collective were not directly involved in the mission stuff. It was a lot of it was Jordan just driving that and working with the other podcast guys and working with CB to work that out. But he's done a really good job, and we're very pleased with it.
Definitely.
And
props to Jordan.
And as you say, it kind of rises to the end. The other missions are really good, but it's sort of the tension is rising up, and then you get this huge event at the end, which is quite fun. Very sort of cinematic. Yeah. Cool. Anyway, let's carry on with some lists of yours.
Yes. I did think for this one to do something a little bit different, and instead of just talking about some lists that you could play, because that's great. Now you can play a lot of lists. Corregidor, I feel like, is very much off the mono build, especially since you now have 2 different divisions that you can choose from. But instead of just doing something in theory in a vacuum, I actually brought 2 lists that I am planning on bringing to a local tournament next month.
Nice.
And so I did write 1 deep space and 1 surface list. And I wrote them mission specific, so I can at least mention the missions, and then in that context walk through why I built them like that is. You can pick which one do you want to do first, deep space or surface?
Let's do deep surface. So I got surface open here. This is Ghost in the Feed 5. Is that correct?
Yes. This tournament. Okay, I'm not trying to like cut my own horn here. This is actually this is the first tournament I am organizing myself. So the mission selection is actually mine. And no, I did not choose the missions because I wanted to write these lists or like play these lists. I thought about what missions I would love to play in the tournament, talked it through with the guys I decided to organize this with, and we were like, let's actually put one of the campaign missions in there, because I felt like Ghost in the Feed was a really balanced mission. I think it lends itself actually pretty well, even if it's in its like current state, to a tournament. So it's like, let's just put it in there. And so the surface one, it can be played in another mission as well, but this one was I already played a deep space list in Ghost in the Feed for the campaign, and so for now I wanted to see like how would a surface list try to do the same things. And do you want to go through the list and tell us what we have here?
Yeah. So we've got an Intruder Sniper Classic,
of course,
with the new +1 SD. A Coyote forward deployment +4 with a multi-marksman rifle, and a Bambabot 2. That's the one with the deployable repeater and flash pulse. Then we have a Bearcat Killer Hacker with a boarding shotgun +1 burst, a Mobile Brigada Lieutenant with a firewall, with I guess in a fire team with Jazz,
Yes.
with the hacker, the FTO version with pitchers. Then you have 2 Morans with boarding shotguns and Crazy Koalas that are repeaters. 2 Jaguars, one of which has just chain rifle and smoke grenades. The other has the adhesive launcher Panzerfaust. A flashball spot. That rounds out Group 1. And then Group 2 is the Territorial with an AP marksman rifle and X-Visor. A Stempler's on Tactical Awareness. Guessing they're in a duo. Or in a Harris even, with the Shifter, Mine Layer SMG E-Mines. Vertigo's on with the Missile Launcher and a Sasha is Group 2.
Yes.
So what's your plan with this one?
I mean, this list is supposed to do 2 things. First, try to put as many of the new Mazebreaker units in there as I can. And I managed to fit 4, kind of 5 if you count the Bamba bot. So basically every new unit except for the Vigilante, which, as you know now, there are reasons for that. Mostly actually in this list points, I wouldn't have been able to fit it. And then basically the idea is the Intruder is just even better in a mission like Ghost in the Feet, which has radial deployment zones, than it would be anyway with its range bands. And then you have multiple teams or different units that can go out and push those buttons and pick up clues. You have and actually in this list you are really making use of those big deployment zones with forward deployment, because both the Coyote is in its forward deployment +4 inches version, and in the second group the Territorial with the Stempler and the Shifter get the strategic deployment bonus. Like all of 3 of them are deploying somewhere further out, which makes it easier for them to press those buttons, and then for the other ones as well to pick up those clues. So it's a really mobile list. Of course, if you're going second, you probably don't want to expose them too much. But I'm really excited to try this out and see how well it does a mission like this where you have to walk a lot around the board. And then, of course, you have the Bearcat, because the Bearcat is just great, either as an attack piece or just, last turn, you press a console, your opponent chooses the clue on the completely other side of the board in some corner, really far away, and you're like, doesn't matter, Bearcat comes in and just picks it up. And yes, and the rest is just mostly standard Corregidor stuff, a Jaguar duo for smoke for the Intruder, because I did not fit McMurrow in this one, but this way I have smoke with a special die if the Intruder does want to do some active turn shooting. I have Jazz, basically, again, just really basic hacking Jazz, just turning those repeaters live, protected by the Mobile Brigada Lieutenant, and then a Vertigo Zond that can make use of. I specifically took it this time because I want to try out the Coyote Bampa bot forward observing thing to just put some additional targeted on on and then being able to capitalize on that. And that's basically the idea. The Sacha is there because 6-point specialist is always useful in a mission where you need to do specialist things. Or even if I don't have nothing else to do in my group 2, I'm just gonna send the Sacha across the board to pick up a clue if that's all I need to do.
I do like that group 2 a lot with the 2 tactical awareness orders in that Harris.
Exactly.
And as you say, with them being a little bit further forward, protected by a mine, you could deploy them quite aggressively if you get to go first.
Yeah.
And you've got 6-7 orders to spend on them, plus your big 10 order group, a bit 10 orders for big group there.
Yeah,
that's really nice. I like that a lot.
Interestingly, even a little bit overkill when it comes to sensor, 2 sensor units in a single. I don't. I'm not gonna envy my opponent if he brings a camo midfield, because between the Coyote with MSV1 and special dies, and the Stempler and the Shifter. I'm gonna read out all of those combo markers for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Nice. Cool list.
Yes.
Should we have a look at the next one?
Yes. So the second one is the Deep Space list for the other two missions, which are in this case corporate appropriation and sensor field, which to those people who don't know is a BAMS mission. And I've always enjoyed the BAMS missions and the Bromed Academy mission system. And I decided to put my favorite BAMS mission into this tournament because I think it's actually a really good mission, sensor field. You basically, every specialist has unlimited sensors, and you need to walk around the field and put sensors into quadrants. And the mission has an engineer bonus, which gives you +3 and second burst. And you can, and the reason I especially wanted to play this mission in sensor field is because you can take out enemy sensors with the deactivator skill. So it was like, haha, evaders got deactivator reroll. Let's do this. Let's actually make use of this very niche skill in this very niche mission. So yeah, but before I get ahead of myself, walk me through, walk the listeners through the list again.
So we have another auto include in the Intruder multi-sniper once again.
Don't leave them.
Don't leave home without it. Yeah. The Tomcat Engineer with multi-rifle and light shotgun. Jazz again. 2 Alguaciles, one of which is a lieutenant, the basic 10.1s. Moran, with the carrying the repeater and boarding shotgun. A Jaguar with adhesive launcher Panzerfaust, and a Diablo with light shotgun and grenades. That's rounded out with 2 flash pulse bots. And then in group 2, we have a Gecko with the multi-marksman rifle, an Evader engineer with the AP Spitfire and a firewall, a Stemplazond with tactical awareness, another auto include, Bandit with the mine layer and deployable repeater, and another Moran. So you have got, it's quite similar to the previous one in that you have that like group 2 that only has 4 regular orders, but it has 2 extra tactical awareness orders.
Exactly.
So you've got a big group that can do big things, but then you also have that smaller group which is just topped up a little bit, which I like. I really like that ability to do that in that second group. It's very good.
It's kind of a default, like it's something I do a lot, where like I put something in group 2 that is obviously smaller, but then I try to fit a couple extra orders in there to make it work.
It's smart.
Yeah. So I just realized I am being made a liar by myself. I just said I would probably never take another Tomcat loadout. But in this case, again, sensor field gives you an engineer bonus, and I had the points.
Yeah.
So I was like, you know what? Let's just finally get a Tomcat engineer just for this mission. Otherwise, again, very much similar stuff. This time, Jazz without the tin bot protection, but with a special die on her pitcher because she's in a Harvest with 2, or like a core with 2 Alguaciles. I needed those points elsewhere. That's why I don't have the. Basically, I needed the points for attack. That's why I don't have the Mobile Brigada there.
Sure.
And then the Jaguar and Diablo duo is something I want to try out. No Lobo to make him regular, but I think it's fine. And the Diablo is especially there for corporate appropriation because I feel like a Diablo is the perfect tool to kill a prototype. We just talked about it. How good it is at that. And then that's the idea of group 1. And the idea of the Gecko Evader Stempler thing, again, for sensor field, you have the engineer with the activator reroll. Amazing. But like that Horus, we already talked about it. It is the overkill Horus because I have both the shooty Gecko and the shooty Evader with the multi-marksman rifle and the AP Spitfire. But I was like, I have the points and I want the engineer. And unfortunately, evaders are still a bit awkward where you're like, you either get a firewall, but then it's not an engineer, or you get a Feuerbach,
Mm.
but then it's also not an engineer with a firewall. Or you get an engineer, but then it doesn't have a firewall if you want a cheaper one. But if you want to have the engineer and the firewall, you have to spend the whole 35 points at 1.5 SWC for the AP Spitfire. And then I was like, well, gonna save some points somewhere else and just splurge on this team. And it has two good guns and the Stempelzand for even more orders and a repeater. And I guess the only thing I'm not sure of, I'm just still going to test this list a bit, is if I'm actually going to keep the Bandit Mine Layer, just because I love the Bandit Mine Layer, and I just painted up my Bandit finally, and I've already played her a bit, but I want to play her more, or actually switch her out for McMurrow to just have another option in corporate appropriation to go after the prototype in case I have to cross the board or something. The bandit is like
The bandit can do that though. Can't it? It's got a DA weapon. It can do that.
it can do
Probably
it, and
not as well, but
exactly, and it might not live long enough because if I over infiltrate it, it's most likely dead at the end of my opponent's first turn.
sure.
But and it's just a nice piece to annoy your opponent in general in both
God,
missions. But again,
it's such an annoying piece. It's kind of
exactly.
amazing with the bang bomb +4, so it's dodging on 17, or you just shoot back with 2 dice.
Exactly.
With maybe an adhesive launcher or something really irritating that's just
Just a
gonna
light shotgun.
ruin some. Yeah,
It's just
yeah, for
yeah.
real. So good.
Yeah. So that's the idea there. And I find that's why I wanted to present some lists that are written for actual missions in a tournament, because I find it so often that you talk about units, and I think like the Tomcat Engineer is the best is the best example. You talk about units so often, it's like, yeah, this is a crappy loadout, and you're never going to play this, and you always take this, and then you encounter a certain mission lineup for a tournament where it's like, well, I need one list to do two things.
Yeah,
And then you end up just having the points. It's like, you know what? For this specific mission, this is just the best piece I can bring. And all of a
yeah,
sudden, you end up with the Tomcat Engineer with multi-rifle, which I
yeah.
never thought I'd play.
Yeah, I totally agree. I really like this. I think I would like to do this in the future if we do faction reviews where it's so much more meaningful to say this list is for this thing. Because so often, everyone likes to sort of theory craft their lists and come up with the best thing with the best mixture of weapons and specialists and stuff. But oftentimes I've had this personally experienced this, and I've seen it happen to other people where you build a list that you think is like generally great and can do all kinds of things, and actually it has one or two glaring holes in it that you didn't see when you were building it, but when it meets the table or it meets a particular opponent and you go, oh no, actually this is no good.
Yeah,
And so
100%.
this list that you've built is like, yeah, it's for this mission. Like, yeah, maybe you wouldn't ever take the Tomcat Engineer in other situations, but it's the right thing. It's the right tool for this job.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things that I love about Infinity, and the fact that there are so many profiles across the whole game, and that everybody has their pet favorite and their pet like one they hate the most and think is useless. But I think if you play the game enough times and play enough different missions, you could be like, actually, there is a use for this thing that I think is garbage most of the time. It's
Yeah.
maybe not my first choice, but in this faction, it's the only thing that does this particular job. And so actually, it's the thing I'm going to have to use. So it's a good lesson in that respect
Totally.
to think about.
I feel like this is the experience I have with the majority of the lists I write, where like I sit down and write lists that I think are cool. And it's like, oh my gosh, I so want to play this. And then the day comes and I agree with my opponent on a mission, like, for most casual games, but even like for tournaments. And you're like, okay, what are we playing? And then like, oh wait, who am I playing? And then last minute you sit down and you change the list because
Yeah.
the list sounded good in theory, but then it has to encounter an actual mission, and you realize, well, for that mission I actually want something else. So
Yeah.
happens all the time.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think we're. Do you have any final thoughts you'd like to share with us about Corregidor before we sign off?
Um, I'm not sure. I think I said most of the things. I think it's funny for me to come back to Corregidor. I had the whole faction at one point. I sold it, um, like completely painted, uh, whole thing, and then I started building them up. I was a Tunguska player for the longest time. So Tunguska now. I had every sectorial at some point, and I have sold every sectorial at some point. Um, and then I started painting just a very limited number of Corregidor models again. Back then, actually, just out of spite, because we had a local player. We had a local player who was a like Corregidor main, but he would not shut up complaining about them all the time. In every game, he would tell me, well, it doesn't really make sense to play anything else. I always play the same list, but it's kind of boring. And I would tell him, well, then try out something else. He was like, nah, there's nothing else that's as good as this, but I'm also kind of bored. It's like, shut up. You know what? I'm just gonna paint up Corregidor again to build a list that shows you that you can play something else. You don't have to play a Vostok Horus and a and a Vertigo Zon. And that's how I started playing Corregidor again. And then, as it always happens, you paint up that one list, and there's like, can paint up a second model and stuff here and there. And now with Mazebreaker, I'm really back up with it, and now that I've had every other sectorial and let go of every other sectorial again, I'm kind of really looking at Corregidor and like, I think this is my favorite one. It has like, I love the like scrappy, the whole spirit of Corregidor with its workers and unions and everything. And I also feel like it's almost like the purest of the three sectorials. It has like the least mercenaries, feels to me like.
Yeah.
It's mostly just
Yeah.
like good old fashioned nomad medium infantry. I'm not sure if it's. I think like it competes really well with all the other ones. I think all three nomad sectorials are in a good place now, and so now it's actually fun to play it. And we'll see if Corregidor, if Corvus Belli sticks to the split, or if maybe down the line they walk back on it and we get just a unified Corregidor after all. Would be cool as well. But as long as we have it, I'm gonna play with what we have and see what interesting things you can do with those two different versions.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, glad to hear it. I look forward to hearing more about it because I think the split especially is really interesting. And as you say,
Yeah.
I agree wholeheartedly with the faction is such a fun and interesting, like conceptually an interesting and enjoyable faction. And then it has this great asymmetry about it with all the mines and the hacking and the kind of it hits that spot of really fitting together with the lore and the gameplay in a way that is really satisfying, I think.
Except for shifters. Shifters make if you read the lore of shifters and then you look at the profile, it's like none of this has anything to do with each other. How does the lore
the
for this?
artwork as well.
Which one?
The artwork, the like key artwork that's got like
and
the
the
shifters
artwork
leaping from the shadows with a dagger, and you're like, he's not doing that. He's never doing that job. That's not his job.
It's like it's the epitome of the desk job nomad kind of unit. And then you read the lore and you look at the minis like, what? But yeah, otherwise it's really thematic. So yeah, maybe like the last thing to say, I would say like, don't listen to the hate that you read on the internet as so often about Corregidor. Yes, it's not as cracked as OSS, but just look at it on its own merits and enjoy it for what it is. Because I think it's really cool.
Very good. I wholeheartedly agree. Well, thank you, Chris, for coming on. It's a pleasure as always.
Yes. Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. And thank you, to you too, dear listener, for tuning in. My name is Thomas, and of course, this has been the Whip 12 podcast.